If you've ever rented out a landed home or own a landed home that you've been trying to rent out and thought how hard it can be, today's guest is the reason why you're going to learn and rethink what you already know. This episode is for landlords, for agents, for sellers, because our guest today, Belle, has a very, very tight leasing system, right? That she rarely gets. She rarely gets any issues lah. She will go through all the hurdles. Hi Belle, welcome to Property Roundtable. As you know, for the last 2 years past, we've always been a few of us chatting lah.
Yeah.
So finally, we have decided that we need to introduce some special people, right, who are really good at their trade and want the viewers to have advantage lah over things like leasing. So before we get into landed leasing, right, we want people to know a bit about you, Belle. So because you're not just good at leasing, of course, sales, you have experience for many, many years. And of course, you have certain hobbies. You like to sing, you do bar, and then you read stories online for people and get paid for it. So Belle, who are you outside of real estate?
So outside of real estate, I'm an investor.
Yes.
I'm a bar teacher.
Yes.
I run a live stream. I used to run a live stream doing reading of Chinese books online.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I'm an avid cook.
Avid cook. I hear you also like to sing. You used to sing online?
Yeah, I like to sing. So I even have a coach that comes to my house to teach me singing once a week for I think 4 years.
Yeah. So I would say there are many people that we know lah who are good at certain things, but Belle is kind of like an all-rounder. And of course, she can sing, she can read, she can...
I think being in property gives you a lot of
flexibility.
time and flexibility
Correct.
to go and pursue your interests.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing out of all the things that I do, one of the things I find very interesting, how do you get into these like read stories online thing? Who do you read for and why do you get into this thing? Like, it's so interesting.
Yeah, so what happened was the singing app that I was on had decided to go into live stream as well. So I was invited to go and test it out and try it out. So I was thinking, what do you do on a live stream channel? You know, you can cook, I guess, you know, or you can sing songs. And so what I decided to do is every morning at 8 a.m. I take out a Chinese book. Usually self-improvement. And I would read it with my broken Mandarin to the audience. And the audience, a lot of them are from Hong Kong, from Taiwan, Malaysia, even Singapore. And they would be helping me to read all the words that I don't know. So sometimes certain words I don't know, I would describe it and then they would try to guess the word. So there's a lot of interaction as well.
I see.
Yeah.
But of course, beyond all these hobbies themselves, right, you are also a mom to your kids lah. So I guess it's very amazing that you managed to find these pockets of time to do this. And of course, as an investor, I get a lot of advice from Belle in terms of investing, like creative passive income, like investing as well, myself. And I deeply respect her. And of course, as a mom, she can find these pockets of time to do that.
Time management.
Which is why today, why she's so successful at this trade. Obviously, Belle, we mentioned like Belle is an experienced realtor, but prior to that, she's also in finance. And of course now, right, we always look to her to guide us, right? When we run into certain issues we're doing with leasing. And one of the biggest issues that agents or landlords find with their leasing agents is that when it comes to leasing, it's a very meticulous thing. And how do you like organize your leasing? And firstly, how do you help your clients when they start, for example, they want to lease a landed home? How do you go about doing that?
So for landed homes leasing, I think a lot of things are very different from apartment leasing. Yeah. For landed homes, you have things like lift, auto gate, garden, maybe a pond with koi in it, and you have the swimming pool. Or sometimes your garden has got some very expensive or very rare trees or plants that they want to maintain and keep. You have pest control, snakes, rats. And then you have issues of maybe neighbors, you know? Gutters, roof gutters, everything.
When you first go into, say, doing this, like, okay, you are given, of course, your landlords know you for many years, but assume you don't know them from day one. How do you go in and start organizing how you're going to go about to market this, and what are some of the interesting or challenging things? You mentioned, like, for example, the garden, for example, like pests.
Yeah.
Like, how do you set about a framework to organize all these things?
I think a lot of time is do not assume.
Yeah.
Once you go in, sometimes we assume that these are usually taken care of by tenant or landlord. It is never the case. So for every property, it is, and for every property, for every deal, it can be very different.
Okay.
So everything can be negotiated. Sometimes you go into a house with a sauna and a steam room, and then you assume that it's going to be part of the lease.
Yes.
Until you rent it out, and then you realize that the owner of the house has not used it for 10 years. He has forgotten about it.
Yes.
And he never intended for it to be part of the lease.
I see.
Because maybe the parts are no longer in production. And then the tenant signed it, based on, I have a sauna, so you have a problem.
So
always ask. So go through all the different parts of the house.
In your years of doing leasing, right? Especially like landed leasing, because we really focus on landed, right?
Yeah.
What's the most interesting that you have ever encountered, and how do you manage to navigate that?
Yeah, so we had a house with a pond and a lot of fishes inside, koi fish, which are very dear to the owner.
Dear as in price, or dear as in expensive?
Price and close. So the moment I saw that and I understood it, I was representing tenant at that point in time. So I noted about it, and then I brought it up for discussion, because if the tenant goes for holiday, comes back, finds 10 of the koi dead, then who is going to be responsible for the fish?
The landlord never take the fish?
No, he's going to leave it there.
Walao, he liked the fish so much. Why
so a lot of these things we have to address before signing,
Yeah.
So for this kind of cases, what I do is I will usually ask the landlord to include in the rent. Get your the person who maintains the pond to come and settle it every week or whatever. Yeah.
So basically, if I hear you correctly, if there are something that is unique, you need to have a management plan for that.
Management plan.
That means if for example, there's a pond.
Ring fence the risk.
Correct.
Yeah.
So basically, you ensure that both parties are aware of some of the complications. That means you are already thinking ahead, thinking forward about what you need to make sure that the relationship keeps financially, the relationship is kept in the TA, and even managing all these things are kept in the TA. So for some of the landlords out there, when you're searching for a tenant and sometimes, you all know, right, there's a standard TA.
Yeah.
So what Belle, you're saying is that
there's no standard.
There's no standard TA.
There's no standard.
You are supposed to weave in certain clauses to ensure that things are going to be okay.
That's right. Yeah.
So there is this thing about furnished and unfurnished. And in the old days, they used to have your rental broken into the base rent.
Yeah, was it for IRAs or something like that? Some taxation benefit.
I mean, for viewers out there, we have a lot of young viewers, but we also have a lot of older viewers, right? And they are also owners of landed property. Do you think that is it still important to break that down?
I don't think so. Yeah. Because now IRAS just look at the total rent you're collecting. That's the one that they want to look at. Yeah.
Okay, so let's review this once and for all. There's no need to break it down.
No need.
Okay, so even in today's terms, right, we don't really break that down. What do you of course, when you talk about landed leasing, right? What about things like roof? What about things like water leakage? Is there a way to go around things like that? If say you represent a tenant or you represent a landlord, how would you treat these kind of issues?
So I think that we can address all these issues upfront, make sure that the landlord understands that structural wall, floor, roof, has to be something that the landlord has to take care of. So for example, if the roof is leaking, I remember about this case. There was this house in Betten. You call the agent tells you that the minor, before arranging viewing, the agent will tell you minor repair clause is 15,000.
How can that be possible?
Really? 15,000?
Okay, what's the norm?
Basically, the whole roof dropped down, so you have to...
What is the norm in today's market? So for people who are not aware.
No, it's not 15,000. So typically at this point in time, I would say for landed houses between 350 to 550.
Okay, so minor repair cost is about 350 to 400.
Yeah, 550 sometimes.
Okay, 550. So this guy asking for 15,000. So that's not called minor.
Not normal lah. Not normal.
That's not even minor. Right?
Not even minor.
15,000 is not minor. Right?
Basically, I think the landlord just doesn't want to deal with anything lah.
But how then will... I mean, it's just counterintuitive, right? No one's going to be so stupid to sign this.
Yeah, either that or the agent don't want to co-broke lah.
So maybe let's talk a little bit about a standard tenancy agreement. You know, in the market, we also about standard tenancy. What are three of the biggest things that you would be concerned in even in a standard TA? What are the three things that stand out to you?
You want to look at every time when you check the TA,
like for example, right? If I just came through the document, right? Which are the three things for a landlord to look out for, and of course for tenant because it's both sides.
Correct.
So what are the three usual things in the standard TA that you look out for?
So usually I look out for the repair clause, the aircon servicing, and then let me see.
What about diplomatic clause? Is it still very important?
I guess it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it is. And how it's worded, it can be very different, between from TA to TA.
Yeah.
And it's actually a very flexible clause.
Yeah.
It's not that standard. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you talk about repair clause, you need to look at it. What would you be looking out for?
I want to know if I'm representing the tenant, I would like to ask the landlord side how would they respond to, for example, oven breaking down, and let's say we are able to repair it versus oven breakdown and it's not worth repairing, and then we have to buy a new one. So how do they intend to handle it? So many ways to handle it. So have to understand this case, this person, how would they...
Okay.
So I think managing of expectations is key. So once everybody is clear or sign the agreement with eyes wide open, then you will have like little to no disputes. I think the disputes usually come when everybody has got different ideas about how they want to read the clause.
Yeah.
Or how they want to implement or collect money later on.
But in terms of then aircon maintenance is quite standard, but what about aircon maintenance that you're looking out for?
I would like to find out also, for example, for aircon maintenance, like if a chemical wash is required, then is it a landlord or is it the tenant,
but usually in
gas
the norm,
top up and all this.
Usually in the norm, the tenant will sign a contract. Then the contract for maintenance. Does the tenant find, or would you propose that the tenant finds their own guy, or the landlord find him and ask the tenant, you use this guy, then you
I
sign?
would typically recommend the tenant to use the landlord's contractor.
Yes.
Because for one thing, if the aircon is not working, the only person suffering is the tenant.
True.
So if the landlord's contractor says that your fan coil, maybe the motor spoil, the PCB spoil, sorry, you need to change, the landlord will can take action quickly. If it's the tenant's aircon guy that says need to change the aircon, what will happen? The landlord will say, I need to send my guy down.
Oh, okay.
So then it would delay,
Yes.
And then end up the tenant is there sweating because
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it's easier better for the tenant to take on the aircon contractor of the landlord. Yeah.
So we talk about repair clause, we talk about aircon maintenance, we talk about like for example, diplomatic clauses. Is it still that important in today's terms? You think?
I think it is important because people's jobs are very fluid right now, and you never know in 12 months' time you may be posted to Dubai or where. Yeah.
Hey, this diplomatic clause, does it? Okay, now we also got a lot of local tenants.
That's right.
Then how are this diplomatic clause? Sometimes it's a get out of jail clause for the foreign tenants, but the local tenants will never have a so-called get out of jail. They never get. Unless they get posted overseas. But does it work this way?
So actually, you see, that's why I say that the diplomatic clause or recall exit clause is actually very flexible. I would always want to understand what does the landlord want, and then we ring fence and word the clause according to what the landlord has in mind, and also whether that clause would then suit the tenant. For example, if you give a Singaporean diplomatic clause, it really doesn't really work that much.
It doesn't work.
So, but if let's say the landlord is happy to let the Singaporean move out if he is posted overseas, then we don't give him the exit clause whereby you just have to give 2-month notice, very open, So if the market tanks, then the Singaporeans say, this one is $5,000 cheaper, next door I'm going to move over, I'm going to quit this contract. So if the landlord doesn't want this to happen, then in the exit clause for the Singaporean, we would word it that, only in the case where he is also posted overseas. Or then he's able to relocate.
I see.
I mean, he's able to terminate the contract early. And we will need to see proof such as a document from the HR, etc.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that really does address this, because I think in recent times, of course, the Singapore rental market after COVID went up by quite significant, and a lot of like tenants were signed in. At that time, they had no choice, right? They couldn't move around.
Actually, Singaporeans also, they have a lot of them are waiting to buy. So then they will also, like, you have tenants that you say that I'm waiting to buy, so I may have to terminate early if I found. So in this case, then you can write in also in the clause that you have to show me your proof of purchase, stuff like that. Yeah.
So again, right, that's why in leasing, I feel like for someone like Belle to be able to like rattle off like what she would do for something like that, it's because of the number of cases or the things that she has seen through the years. But as a landlord that has been typically using, say, one person to do this job since 1965 time, then your agent will always take out the dinosaur TA, right, and try to throw it onto the tenant that's coming in. And times have changed. And if they are not flexible to the terms, then the landlord will always ask, hey, so-and-so agent, what are you doing to help me get a tenant? He say, no, I actually show all the time. But then this joker go and put one minor repair cost. Maybe it's the agent go and suggest them to put like $1,000. Then the tenant will say, hey, screw this bullshit. Like, I'm not going to be so sucker to do that, right? So I think that is why a system towards like how you manage these kind of things, I think from Belle's perspective is really good because it's very dynamic. So I give you, maybe I had another example. So if a landlord show you, hey, Belle, I mean, not you get this all the time lah. I know lah. You say, when a landlord say, hey, just lease it and rent out lah. And then they tell, this is my house. You lease it and rent out. What do you clarify with them, and what do you clarify for them? What do you tell them to prepare for, or what would you do to say that, hey, I think this house is ready to go, or this house is marketing at this price? How would you go about advising the client? Because they just say, hey, my house is there. You help me lease out. What would you do the process towards talking to this client, and how do you come about
Do you mean like in terms of pricing or in terms of what goes with the house when he rents it? Some people say I want to keep the car park.
For example, pricing.
Okay.
For example, the condition of the house. For example, what are the other things you can help them to say achieve a certain price? They need to do certain things. For example, what do you do with them to like have a collective discussion towards a better outcome? What are some of the things, for example, in a landed? What would ring your alarm bells and say, hey, I think we need to do this?
I think like for landed, right, what is important that is when the potential tenant walks into the house, he feels good. So if you have got a peeling paint or a wall full of mold or a ceiling that looks like it's going to collapse, or blinking lights. Blinking lights at night can look quite scary. Okay, so get all these things fixed. Minimally, I think the house should be presentable, clean, and ready for viewers to view. And I think if you don't have so many things that make a person feel uncomfortable or feel like there's a lot of work to be done, I can't visualize how it is I'm going to stay, I think then you can work towards a good outcome, a better outcome. Then, some of them may say, no lah, I'll do all this when the tenant confirm the deal. I think sometimes like that, then you may not be able to get that wow factor and people don't fall in love with the house and give you a good price.
Now that you mentioned love, right? I reckon this analogy lah, right? You want to impress somebody, you go on your first date, you go and shower, wear nice clothes,
You go and shower. Normally you don't shower.
You must look good, right?
You only shower on the first date.
You feel good, right? You put your perfume, whatever, your Chanel, whatever shit, right? And then the first thing you go is like, okay, never mind. If I go there, right, you must chase me first. I'm just going to be like, I just give you cold face. I don't care.
Oh, wow.
Then, that's the same as what landlord is telling. Oh, you tenant, you offer first. You tell me how much you offer, then I'll see what I do for you. I mean, there is always this tension between landlord and tenant towards, you can see who is willing to close the deal.
Yeah.
And because of this, let me lead on to a little bit. Just one more question is the Belle. Actually, what do you foresee in 2026? Or, okay, what do you foresee after the end of 2025? How was the leasing market for landed?
I think towards the second half of 2025, a lot of the larger houses find difficulty finding tenants for some reason. It's been quiet. Yeah.
I think
I've seen listings there for like same listings on Guru.
yeah.
There for a few months.
Would you liken that to a lack of tenant pool, or do you think that the price is too high?
I think
I'm sure you have your take on it.
yeah, I think firstly is we came off from a high, and a lot of the landlords need time to readjust, recalibrate. So a lot of times the advertising price was like the last time price, and then it takes time now for the landlord to unless you meet a very savvy landlord. It's like Belle, last time price is not realistic anymore. I just want to cut to the chase. Let's go,
Yes.
Yeah, and so that's the reason why. Yeah, that's probably the reason why.
So definitely at the end of the day, it's still a price. But do you think there's a shrinking pool of tenants in the market overall?
For landed or for overall?
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe for landed first, and then maybe for overall. Because our viewers got all sorts of property.
I think for landed, at least in my own experience, in the last 6 months or last year, it's pretty quiet compared to before. Yeah. But having said that, beginning of this year, suddenly I feel like, got influx again.
Oh.
Yeah.
A brand new year.
Yeah, brand new year. I don't know, suddenly.
The horse coming.
Everybody's coming back. In fact, even tenants who viewed the property last year, they called back and said, is it available? Yeah.
So Belle, because your zodiac sign this year going to what already?
I horse leh.
But never mind. I think generally the market has been finding a bit of challenge. I mean, even for myself and Rama, what we find in terms of, not landed aside, because landed usually the price quantums are quite high. So we liken it to price things that are more expensive. You'll have a lesser pool of people going after.
Confirm.
But even in the lower end market, right, you see like condos, right, with the increasing inventory, right, it creates a competitive situation. As more units come online, then of course the older apartments, it's either you adjust your price or you are trying to, you throw in certain things that are flexible to allow the tenants to come in.
You face a lot of competition for apartments will be with those new TOP.
Yeah, correct.
Because the appliances are 1 year warranty, brand new. So it's hard to fight.
So what Belle mentioned is very important also, because you see, like all these new units coming online with the new TOP, right? Of course, they have warranties and stuff, but they are very competitive. It's the same graduating cohort from this new launch.
Correct.
Everybody come out looking for the same job. Now everybody looking for the same tenant. So how do you make yourself more competitive? So either A, you are fast, that means you accept the first offer.
I find that the first offer is the highest price.
Correct.
For sure.
Yeah.
Then after that, next will be like, hey, come to mine, come to mine. Then no, come to mine, I'll be lower,
Correct.
So it all goes downhill.
Correct.
And then until the supply is all sucked up.
Correct.
Then it starts to regulate. And then you have the original tendencies people start exiting and all this. And it will regulate again.
So, because we liken it to a same graduating cohort, it is also the same as how competitive you want yourself to be in the market. So, of course, people will say that, our agents, you always tell us to adjust price, whatever. I guess it's really up to the landlord, like how deep your pocket is to want to get to
some
the price.
New TOPs where they spruce up the place real nice. So then I guess that's a competitive advantage, because if it's not everybody's house is going to look the same. Look the same.
So I have this random formula. I'm not a leasing expert, but I a random formula. If the extra $300 you want a year is $3,600, right? Versus the interest you have to pay on your mortgage every month, right? You just go work the sums up. I would rather someone that help me pay for all my interest and part of my principal also I song, because I'm still paying, I top up is okay because it pays down my loan.
You rather get a tenant in now.
Correct.
No matter what.
And a house that has a tenant, a proper tenant, don't say rubbish tenant, right? A proper tenant would still be better than to leave it vacant.
Confirm.
Correct. So, now, this is who you are, and the landed game is obviously, landed leasing is obviously different. So we're going to break this into two parts. So in the second part, right, we're going to want to know how you actually have an actual system step by step, and some of your real stories about your wins and some of the storm you went through in terms of leasing and also how you leasing has helped you towards getting to know about the market and how more predictive you are. And of course, if you are agent or landlord, drop your rental questions in the comments, and we will try to cover it in part 2. And again, if today it's we've never talked about rental, to be honest, on this channel.
Yeah, I've been following your channel. Nothing's about rental.
Nothing's about rental. You know why?
Surprised, eh?
You know
want to talk about rental
because every of our question come, it's like maybe 20% rental question, 80% is buy and sell. So
mostly the listeners are people who want to buy.
Yes.
Yeah,
but
usually.
But then actually the truth is some of our lurking viewers, which I bump into, even in recent times I went overseas, at the airport, I actually bumped into a viewer of the channel, and they came to say hi to me. And they said
you're famous now.
No, not famous. As in, like, they are very focused on landlord because they own a couple of landlords. And they were telling me that, hey, Harvey, recently, the rental market 是不是有问题? Like, they have been leasing out, they won't sell one, they want to keep for their children. I said, the truth is, the bigger you are, the harder it is to get a tenant. So we realized that the leasing game needs to be changed. And how the landlords want to change the game is really up to you. Also in part 2, we're going to understand a bit more. And if you find this useful, watch part 2 and see you in our next episode.